Mr. Helmer.
Madam Chairman, and thank you also to Mr. Pototschnig for his presentation. Although I have to say that I did find it rather academic and theoretical, and I wonder what its immediate practical implications are, say, for Germany, as Germany struggles to replace its nuclear capacity with coal-fired power stations, or what it means for my own country, the UK, as we face a sort of capacity cliff where we are closing our nuclear power stations and, because of the Large Combustion Plant Directive, also closing our coal capacity, and frankly with a very limited idea of how we're going to replace it. Now, Mr. Pototschnig, I was very struck by the figures you gave us, and I wonder if copies of your presentation will be available, because I should very much like to have them. But please clarify my understanding. It seemed to me that you said that we would need 300 billion euros for grids and distribution, and that of that, 80% pertained to the issue of dealing with renewables. That is an enormous amount of money. Secondly, we discussed capacity payments at some length, again designed to cope with renewables. I think it's very important to recognise that these capacity payments are merely a measure of the inefficiencies of running fossil fuel backup to support renewables. Now, I was at a breakfast this morning dealing with solar photovoltaics, and very attractive figures were quoted about the increasing competitiveness of photovoltaic energy, and grid parity was talked about a great deal. But when renewables operators talk about the cost of renewable electricity, they are only looking at the cost, the raw cost of the electricity they produce. Surely they ought to be adding on these massive costs for adapting the grid and for capacity payments, without which renewables cannot be operated. So renewables are very much more expensive than the figures that are normally bandied about. Can I say finally that I am struck by the fact you are creating a system with a great many interrelated variables. As a former mathematician, I recognise that as a complex or chaotic system. And as a former mathematician, I can tell you that one of the great features of chaotic systems is that the outcomes vary enormously based on very small changes in the initial conditions, and that such systems are therefore very difficult to predict in terms of their outcomes and their behaviour. And I suspect that the outcomes from this system which you are creating will be rather different from your expectation, just as the outcomes of the emission trading scheme have been rather different from our expectation. Thank you.
Grazie.